A family is vacationing on their yacht in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. The mother, Julia, jumps into the water to swim. While relaxing, she feels something strange. But since nothing is visible around her, she thinks it might be an illusion. A few seconds later, the same weird sensation happens again. This time, too, nothing is in sight. But now she panics and starts swimming toward the yacht. Suddenly, something starts pulling her leg, and she begins screaming loudly for help. Her daughter Cassie is listening to music with headphones on, so she can't hear anything. Husband Tom and son Ben are busy fishing. Julia tries to stay afloat on the surface, but screaming becomes difficult due to water entering her mouth. After a while, Tom realizes he hasn't seen Julia for quite some time. He searches for her on the yacht and then spots his wife in danger. He calls the children. Tom steers the yacht toward them and jumps into the water. He quickly reaches Julia, grabs hold of her, and swims back toward the yacht. The children haul both of them aboard. The family tends to Julia, but Julia convinces herself that it must have been the waves. That night, everyone gathers to celebrate Ben's birthday. Cassie gets a call from her boyfriend, so she takes her laptop and steps outside. On the video call, her boyfriend shows her massive black clouds looming over the city. The call glitches and freezes. Cassie comes inside to tell the family, but Tom says it's probably weak signal from being so far from land. Suddenly, everyone hears a sound. They all go outside and see a pod of whales passing by. Tom explains that whales always follow Earth's magnetic field, but they get confused during storms. Abruptly, the yacht lurches violently and Ben falls. Worried that the yacht might be damaged, Tom dives underwater to check the hull. After a while, Tom resurfaces, but there's a large gash on his shoulder. Julia immediately stitches the wound. Tom explains that underwater, it felt like some enormous creature was right behind him. When he turned to look, he got sliced by the propeller. He says whatever it was massive. He also notices significant damage to the yacht, so they need to call for help. Julia keeps trying the radio repeatedly. Cassie searches for a signal on her phone, but nothing works. Then Cassie spots a strange creature and screams, only to realize it's just Ben wearing a mask, pulling a prank. A short time later, the yacht shuts down completely, leaving them stranded in the middle of the ocean. Julia hears a voice on the radio, but it's so garbled she can't make out a word. Tom tells the family they have only 4 days' worth of food and water left, and now they must wait for a fishing boat to pass by. Suddenly, something pings on the radar, and they hear a strange sound. Everyone rushes outside and stares in shock as numerous meteors streak down toward Earth. Wherever they strike land, massive explosions erupt. One meteor crashes into the water nearby, and Tom immediately tries to start the yacht. The engine barely turns over, but just then, another meteor hits the area. The family clings to one another in terror. The fireballs falling from the sky aren't meteors. They're satellites. At that very moment, Ben notices smoke pouring from the yacht. Tom checks and confirms the engine is dead. The wind picks up fiercely, so the family huddles inside the cabin, unaware that the compass is spinning wildly. The yacht starts rocking violently. Ben falls again, this time injuring himself. Tom fights his way outside and returns with life jackets. Just then, the power cuts out. Tom quickly presses the power box button, and the lights flicker back on. That's when Ben sees blood trickling from Julia's nose. She starts feeling dizzy. Cassie rushes to the sink and vomits. Tom keeps trying the radio, but there's no signal. Suddenly, a high-pitched screeching noise pierces the air, and the wind grows even stronger. Julia tries to secure the doors, but a hatch flies open, and gusts begin shattering the windows. Tom lights a flare. Moments later, darkness swallows everything. The next morning, the family wakes up in shock. They've survived the storm, but the yacht is half destroyed. When they step outside, they freeze. The ocean water has vanished, and the yacht is now stranded on dry, cracked earth. Everyone stares in stunned silence. Cassie checks for a signal. Nothing. The network is completely down. Ben starts playing with 2 dead crabs. Cassie breaks down, convinced her boyfriend is dead. When Julia tries to comfort her, Cassie pushes her away and hides. Julia and Tom inventory the remaining supplies. Ben ties his birthday balloons to a rock, hoping some survivor might see them. Tom tries the radio again, and this time connects with a man named Now, captain of a submarine. His sub is also stranded on land. He confirms the magnetic poles have reversed, causing the ocean to recede and land to flood elsewhere. He hasn't seen other survivors and all communication systems are down. He adds that the poles will likely reverse again, and the sea might return within a week. He warns the family to climb as high as possible, because when the water comes back, it will be catastrophic. He mentions his partner died in the crash, and the sub can only hold 3 people. Julia and Tom beg him to save their children. He gives them his coordinates. Tom calculates it will take 2 to 3 days to reach the sub. He tells the family to rest well tonight. They'll leave at dawn. The next morning, the family is packing when Tom spots movement nearby. It's a limping man with a harpoon and a barking dog. Tom approaches and offers him a water bottle. The man speaks in a language Tom doesn't understand. After drinking, the stranger suddenly smashes the bottle over Tom's head and kicks him hard in the face. Julia runs in panic, but it's too late. The man drives the harpoon into Tom's stomach. Tom writhes for a few moments before the stranger slits his throat. The man then chases Julia and hurls the harpoon, striking her shoulder. Gritting through the pain, Julia stumbles inside the yacht and yells for the children to hide. She locks the door. Cassie and Ben crawl inside the sofa. Julia hands them the flare gun and grabs a knife, then hides in the bathroom. The man pounds on the door until it gives way. He snatches some food, then rummages through the yacht. He heads for the bathroom, but Julia slips out through a small hatch. Thinking she's fled, he starts to leave. Just as his dog spots her and barks furiously. The dog lunges. Julia stabs it dead. Hearing the yelp, the man storms out, sees his dog's corpse, and flies into a rage. Meanwhile, Julia circles to the other side and climbs through a shattered window. But he's already there. He grabs her, punches her hard, and hurls her onto the sofa. He starts strangling her. The kids watch everything. Cassie bursts out and fires the flare gun. It strikes the man square in the chest. He ignites. Julia staggers back, kicks the burning man down, snatches the map and bag, and flees. Ben and Cassie kneel beside their father's body, sobbing. Julia joins them. Together, the 3 weep and whisper a final goodbye to Tom. Then the terrifying man staggers out again, still aflame. The family scrambles away. Moments later, the yacht explodes in a massive fireball. After walking a short distance, they stop by a small spring to rest. Cassie realizes the madman probably followed the birthday balloons. Hearing this, Ben blames himself. Julia reassures him it wasn't his fault and urges everyone to keep moving. The man is still behind them. Along the way, Ben is stunned to see a dead hammerhead shark beside a tiny pond. Julia notices the man closing in again. They sprint and tumble down a sand dune, landing amid toxic waste. Carefully, they cross it and seem to have shaken their pursuer. As they continue, they encounter huge dead sea creatures and piles of plastic that once lay on the ocean floor. Ben slows down. Julia recognizes he's nearing dehydration. Checking the water bottle, she's shocked. It's nearly empty. Cassie realizes she must not have sealed it properly. Julia yells in fury, "Your carelessness cost us our water." Cassie snaps back, "What does it matter? We're not going to survive anyway." A long argument erupts, but they press on. Soon they find a crashed plane. Something moves inside. Everyone freezes. It's only birds. They decide to spend the night in the fuselage. They share a few snacks. In Tom's jacket, Julia finds a family photo. Her heart breaks. Cassie asks softly, "Mom, what was your love story with Dad?" Julia smiles through tears. "Tom was my patient in the hospital. One day he gave me flowers and the sweetest poem to confess his love." In the middle of the night, Cassie slips out of the plane. Just then, the terrifying man lunges at Cassie from behind, but Julia charges in, stabbing him repeatedly until he collapses, dead. Cassie clings to her mother, soothing her shaking body. The next morning, insects swarm the corpse. The family notices deep bite marks all over it. Something dangerous lurks in the area. As they leave, crabs pour out of the dead man's mouth. Hours later, Julia and Cassie study the map. Ben slips ahead unnoticed. Julia shouts, "Stop!" But Ben kneels by a pond and starts drinking. She yanks him back, warning that unknown water could make him sick. The sun blazes. They cover their heads with clothes. Ben grows dizzy. They find old deck chairs. Julia and Cassie rig a makeshift shelter. Julia gives Ben an injection and decides they'll stay the night. At dawn, Julia wakes to a strange scuttling. Outside, a massive swarm of crabs advances. She rouses the kids. They bolt. Running, they spot a huge cargo ship. 3 crew members are alive. One woman wants to help, but the 2 men refuse, locking the family out and sealing the container. The crabs close in. Julia hoists the children onto a container. As she climbs, crabs clamp onto her leg. The kids haul her up. Otherwise, she'd fall. Half the crabs crawl inside through a hole. The crew opens fire, but the swarm overpowers them, killing both men. The last survivor scrambles toward the roof hatch, but the crabs drag him down too. He dies screaming. Julia bandages her mangled leg and passes out. When she wakes, a blinding sandstorm rages. She's alone. Panic rising, she grabs a dead woman's pistol and screams for her kids. Cassie hears her, runs back, and explains she and Ben went looking for help. No one was there. They find Ben inside an open container, a safe place to wait out the storm. Julia flicks Tom's lighter, presses the flame to her wound, and cauterizes it. The pain is white hot. She bites down on a scream. When the storm dies, they find another container. Among the bodies, they scavenge a radio and a handgun. Julia contacts now. We lost the map. His voice crackles. Arthropods hit us too. They're ancient. Oxygen's driven them insane. Move fast. My instruments say the ocean's returning sooner than predicted. You've got hours, he fires a flare. They follow the glowing arc. Hours of walking. Ben ducks into a shattered portable toilet to pee. At last they spot the submarine, just beyond a jagged rocky ridge. As they cross, the walls shudder. Boulders crash. A rock slide roars down. Julia shoves the kids aside and leaps back. A wall of stone slams between them. Through the dust, she yells, "Go without me! Get to the sub!" Cassie refuses, insisting her mother must try to climb. They argue fiercely until Julia, voice breaking, promises she'll find them later. Reluctantly, Cassie drags Ben forward. The kids scramble over the rocks toward the submarine. Reaching it, they find Now slumped outside, drenched in blood. He gasps that it's over for him. The sub is theirs now, one extra seat. Cassie spins and races back for her mother. Julia spots the crab swarm and opens fire, dropping several. The horde is endless. Then Cassie appears atop the wall, arm outstretched. Julia, ignoring her mangled leg, hauls herself up. Cassie pulls her over. They sprint together. Ben stands atop the sub, firing to keep the crabs at bay. The creatures reach Now's body and devour it instantly. Julia keeps shooting until the kids are inside. Bullets spent, she hurls the empty gun and dives in after them. They seal the hatch. Through the porthole, crabs blanket the hull. Then the ocean roars back. The family straps in, hands clasped. Waves batter the sub like a toy. Darkness swallows them. They wake alive. Unlatching the hatch, they emerge into a ruined city. The sub wedged among shattered towers. Hope flickers. Survival. A new life. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more epic recaps. Thanks for watching.